Donald Trump's policies are currently destroying the economies of both Iowa and Nebraska. Iowa and Nebraska both saw their GDP in Q1 of 2025 shrink by over 6%. Mind you, in the Great Recession in 2008 2009, US GDP only shrank 4.3%. So Iowa and Nebraska are going through something right now worse than the Great Recession. Iowa and Nebraska are uniquely exposed to Trump's policies because they rely heavily on agriculture and manufacturing. On the manufacturing side, many firms in these states, like Caterpillar, are facing much higher input costs, especially for aluminum and steel, much of which comes from Canada. And so they've had to lay off a significant number of workers, and also prices for the things that they manufacture, which farmers need, like tractors, has also gone up substantially. On the agriculture side, we've all heard about how we've lost our market for soybeans in China and other countries as they diversify away from our suppliers due to our reckless trade war. But on top of that, farmers are also facing higher costs on things like fertilizer, which is also imported from Canada. This also compounds with other issues the state is facing, like the fact that they had a ton of investment going into windmills that has all been slashed due to cuts by the government in renewable energy, and also by the fact that the state revenue is also contracting rapidly. So, as there's a recession, economic activity decreases, and then state revenue is going down. So, state revenue fell by over 8%, which means we're going to see cutbacks in schools and other services in states like Iowa as they continue to struggle under the Trump administration. Now, Iowa for me is a particularly sad state of affairs because after voting for Obama twice, the state has swung considerably to the right. Iowa is not even contested by Democrats at the national level anymore in the presidential race. Iowa also now has four members of Congress that are Republican and a governor who is also Republican. Are all the terrible things that are happening to Iowa, were they totally predictable based on Trump's announced policies before the election? Yes. Did the media do a good job at actually uncovering that for people to understand? Of course not. They didn't highlight the fact that tariffs would actually hurt domestic manufacturers, not help them, because manufacturers are integrated into a global supply chain and rely on inputs. Did we know that we were going to lose our markets for agricultural goods? Of course we did, because we know that people want to diversify away against an unreliable partner that reneges on trade deals that they made in the past. And then finally, this Argentine bailout seems to be the cherry on top of this shit Sunday, as many people in the article that I read recently were complaining about the fact that this was happening. However, they still continued in many cases to support President Trump. I don't really understand why that's happening. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but that's just a sad state of affairs that we live in today.